Oh, our world seems like it's being ripped apart by the twister. U.S. debt approaching 33.3 trillion. Debt clock revamps silver to gold ratios as Germany imports more electricity than it outputs. Look at the crash in German car sales. U.S. Treasuries never before seen falling 3 years in a row, worse since 1788. What else is visible to the human eye in hidden history? And as we view the landscape of our world, it does seem that it's being ripped apart by a twister. It's a restructuring, a reconfiguration into a new era. You might ask why. I ask myself the same. Is it new frequencies through our solar system? Something's definitely changing. The old world can't hold with the new vibratory pattern emerging. The old world must collapse. They've milked it really well so far. 33.15 trillion on the top left there, U.S. national debt. That will soon be 33.3 trillion. Now, once that happens, there's no possible way to pay back the debt because the interest payments at that point eclipse anything that can be generated through tax revenues, etc. And it's officially finished at that point. Interesting number where it does finish. But the U.S. debt clock, remember there was a lot of conjecture like why is everything at $0 per ounce, $0 per ounce on the dollar to silver, dollar to gold ratios? Well, when your dollar supply is going negative, it takes it into the 0 point. So U.S. debt clock reorganized itself and put a new 5-year or 10-year dollar silver ratio. And if we look at those, looks like around $1,500 or $1,100 per ounce based on the amount of debt in the United States. And dollar to gold would look around 12,000 on the 5-year and 9,300 on the 10-year. Interestingly, also another addition to the U.S. debt clock from usdebtclock.org, the G7 GDP gold ratio versus the BRICS GDP to gold ratio. And my takeaway is metals are so underpriced right now. Look at the possibilities. I mean, it's starkly in your face that if there's a revaluation in metals, they're going to be going to values that are unthinkable in today's world. Even the EU is starting to flee toward gold. Once you see Poland and Slovakia and others jumping in on the gold buying frenzy, adding hundreds of tons into the reserves, words out on the street, that might be a new trading medium and the base of a new monetary system. So off a Gold Telegraph here, Russia released a list of friendly and neutral countries allowed to trade on the currency, exchange markets there. And if we dive all the way through the entire list, I don't see the United States in there. I don't see France in there either. Germany, not in there. It seems like all Western countries are not in there. I don't see Australia. Even Gazprom Neft announced it would no longer accept US dollars for payment. Russia's third largest oil producer abandoning the dollar. The U.S. debt crisis could ignite a long-term rally in gold. Since March 2020, the U.S. added another $8 trillion in debt. BRICS nations met last month, and oil-rich nations, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, have joined Russia, China, and India. And 51% of Americans can't pay their credit card bills, which just surpassed $1 trillion for the first time in history. Call Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group has a no-fee-for-life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. No fee for life IRA on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call, 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. And now India is doing the same. So it does seem like it's a concerted effort across the planet to move away from any dollar traded assets if they can avoid using it. So this swap between minerals for lumber or natural resource for natural resource to offset debt, gold-backed currencies, oil for direct payment for another good is another way around that whole mechanism. But you're starting to see it. And now, you know, this grid down, a lot of people envision barter as being a thing. It always has been through the past. Well, these countries are going now to a barter system. You know, a tanker of oil for what? re-reversed and traded back for another physical good. Now this barter system can go macro, or you can take it up to what we're seeing with multiple super tankers full of oil floating across the ocean. The only way they were able to uphold those sanctions was the transiting cargo now is uninsured through Western insurers. So if you want to let your vessel sail without insurance, you can go right around the embargo because the Western insurers just won't insure those vessels. So is it worth it to maybe lose a cargo or two along the way? Let me go back into the 1500s when they send ships across the ocean. Spanish knew they were going to lose a couple gold-laden ships to hurricanes. And that was a chance and percentage offset that was willing to be done for business sake. The Etosha, for example, how many of these large vessels full of gold have gone down over the last several centuries? They knew that was a risk. It was a risk. What is our risk of the new world right now? And are you willing to take a risk to be able to jump through a hoop or a hurdle? And what's your plan for bartering if you have to? If the money becomes worthless or very undervalued in the country you live in, do you have a plan, an escape plan, a plan B, C, D, E, F, and G? Because you're going to need to string along and do all those to put it all into play moving forward. And Ray Dalio, one of my faves, he delves back into cycles of history and monetary collapse, which overlay right on top of the cyclical activity of our sun in multi-century cycles. And the second paragraph really drives it home. We're at the turning point of acceleration, but the real problem comes when individuals or investors or nations don't hold the bonds, because that's a supply-demand thing. One man's debt is another man's asset. And when that debt turns bad, nobody wants to hold it. Hold cash. Well, cash these days could be precious metals, also equivalent swapped over. And then also a book I might recommend, The Great Taking by David Rogers Webb. I've ordered this one. I haven't read it yet, so I'm just saying it was recommended for me to read. I ordered it, waiting for it. But in addition, that dovetails straight into talking points from the book. The rejection rate now of credit scores below 680, 14.2%, and that's up from February of 9.1%. Now this is going to increase here. Now you can imagine what is a 50% or 100% rejection rate, and people cannot use their credit cards to pay off the debt of what they need to even eat. I'm going to put all my food on a credit card. That's a very, very, very bad idea. If you anticipate doing that as your backup plan, you get a very limited amount of time to do that before you're cut off, and then what? You need to have another plan. Grow the food, trade the food, work for the food, whatever it is. Get on a community farm. Look at that credit card limit increase requests. 30% rejected. So that's after you've run your card and you're like, I don't have any more money. I still need to eat. Can I get a raise again on my increase on my card? And they're like, no. Now the refinance applications, I don't know why you would want to do that with such a high interest rate, but I guess if you're between a rock and a hard place, you're going to do anything to get that money. And that's the scariest part of our society, and just moralless lawness that we're seeing now. People are going to do anything to get that money or get that food or get that sustenance or get whatever they need to do. They're going to do anything to get it. So first of all, if you're planning, you got to plan for that. That's already baked into it. When things go south, and they haven't even remotely gone south yet, when they go, it's going to go. And you're going to have to plan for that. Which is exactly like the platinum world. Our world in slow motion collapse is exactly like the platinum shortage, that it's ongoing and eroding significant above ground inventories, not sudden but steady. And we keep saying this, steady down stepping. There's no one large event where people are like, okay, it's over, let's get ready to rebuild again. This is a continuous collapse. So heavy metals putting out a thought or two here. The correct question is when it will hit me. Okay, that collapse is happening all around you. Same like a hurricane. It's coming toward you, but at what point does it hit and what's the intensity of it? Are you in the eye? Are you outside? You know, do you have roll down metal shutters for your windows, or you're out there with some plywood nailing that on? And there's going to be different outcomes. And another question, when will the masses realize what's going on and start panic buying everything? At that point, it is game over. You're going to be competing with masses, probably standing in lines out. And again, it'll be limited, like limit one box of something per customer. You know, we already saw that during COVID. And I mean, imagine going every single store is like that. Limit this, limit that. So another thing that's really trailing off and go, oh, whoa, hold on a second. I'm going to take you back to 1788. Never in the history of the U.S. Republic have U.S. Treasuries fallen for 3 years in a row. Ever. Going back to 1788. 200 plus years, I think that's showing you something is very amiss at the moment. And if we jump over to Europe, something amiss also is Germany now importing more electricity than it exported. Well, see, that was the whole thing that made Germany the powerhouse, is they had additional electricity to then export out and keep all of their industries running. Like that blue that you're seeing back 2015, 16, 17, they generated so much power and every business was fully powered in every home and every office and everything was fully powered to the max. And that's the additional electricity they had to sell off to the rest of Europe. Now they phased out nuclear, and look at that, they have to import more than they export or even use. And then this winter is going to be a rough one for them as well. So it just goes hand in hand here. German car sales collapsing, and you can see prior 2009 Lehman Brothers banking crisis, and then 2013 the post-Euro, that didn't hit the United States so much, and then we got the Corona, obviously 2020. So you get these dips depending on economic inactivity, and who knows how long this will trail off. Will it go below 2009? Unknown. Again, it's that slow drip feed. And like I said in the beginning, what is your mind or your eyes showing you? Are these really remnants of mushrooms in the past? If it is, then what caused organisms to be so gigantic that don't exist in our world or time today? And please remember to join us Thursday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight, Rumble on the Adapt 2030 channel. And also, we've started our show notes. So sign up at MIAC Radio Show. You go to oilseedcrops.org for that, right in the top navigation bar. Working on the website again to get it up and polished. But we'll send you the show notes of the things we talk about so you can continue the conversation with others. And also remember storable foods during this time. You're going to want to think about that. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030, the 3-month emergency food supply. That way you won't have to wander out into the chaos. I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.